Is that a dandelion in the flower bed? Oh my goodness. Looks like Mr. Doll had better get weeding. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this dandelion is to make so you can put some weeds in your dollhouse landscaping. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is a little bit of prep work. What I've got is three literally scraps of paper. These came off of something I printed this morning. I only needed the top half. I cut the bottom half off. So I have 2 pieces of regular printer paper and I have a little piece of cardstock. You could use any light colored cardstock. And I've got some leaf green paint, acrylic paint. I was going to put some out on my tile. And we're going to paint both sides of one of these pieces of printer paper. And I'm not going to need anywhere near this much. You can use any color, green, that's kind of a leafy, foliagey type green. Specific colors are not important on this one. Because dandelions kind of vary, I've noticed, depending on the year and the time of year and everything. Now when I turn the camera off, I'm going to figure out a way to hang this up so it doesn't stick to anything. But for right now, I'm just going to off camera lay it on something. And I'm going to paint the cardstock also, both sides, with the green. We're doing this for the same reason that we paint a lot of times. The paint won't fade as much over time as if we would have if I just used a piece of green cardstock and it sat out in the light. Over time, green cardstock will fade out. Usually acrylic paint won't, so that's why we use the paint. We paint it rather than using the colored paper. Now I am going to hang these from a surface so they're not laying down when they're drying, but paint both sides. The second piece of paper we're going to paint with yellow paint. And again, both sides of my paper need to be painted. If you've got a slightly darker yellow, that would probably be better than the one I'm using. What am I using? I am using bright yellow. But this was the only yellow I could find. Somehow I have managed to run out of all my yellow paint. Alright, I have enough of this painted, more than enough. I'm going to let these dry. I'm going to wash out my paintbrushes so I don't ruin them, and then I'll be back. Okay, let's try this again. Now I have cut a piece of 18 gauge wire into 5 pieces. We're going to trim these to size later. By having them bigger, it makes it a lot easier to work. I have my 2 pieces of computer printer paper, the yellow one and the green one. I have a piece of foam core. Out of my cardstock, I've pre-cut just a little kind of sort of square. A little bit less than a 1/2 inch. We're not going to be real picky about the size. That's not really going to show when we're done. I have a sewing pin. I have a cotton ball. I have 2 kinds of glue. I have my 3-in-1 and I have Gorilla Super Glue Gel. You need a super glue makes this a lot easier. I have a small pair of scissors. I have just a standard round 1/4 inch paper punch, hole punch, and I have a little leaf-shaped punch. Any small leaf-shaped punch will work. Holly leaf, whatever you've got. If you don't have this, you can cut an oval and then make little jagged edges with your scissors. This is super easy. We're not going to stress over this. So let's start by punching out 12 leaves out of our green paper. See if I can get these punched so they fall on the table. Oops. Cut an extra one just in case I messed any of those, a couple extras, in case I messed any up. Oh, and I also have a ball stylus here and a block. All right, so we are going to put a bit of our 3-in-1 glue in the middle of this. And I should have brought tweezers, but I didn't. Oh, all right. Then we're going to take these guys and we're going to put them over here. And we're just going to kind of curve them. And I forgot my tweezers, so I'm going to have to pause for just a second. I'm going to curve all of these leaves, and I'm going to go get my tweezers, and when that's done, I'll be back and we'll put this, and we'll go to the next step. All right, I have rounded all of my leaves, except I think I missed that one. Now I've rounded all my leaves. I have a small pool of super glue, and I'm using Gorilla Super Glue Gel today. I decided to give the gel a try. Now I am going to pick these guys up. The side that was down to the foam core is up now into the super glue. The first one's going to go so it covers that corner. And this is going to be a little bit fiddly. That's okay. The first layer of leaves is going to cover the corners. I'm trying to be sure that the stem end is the end I'm gluing down. And if I had my head where I normally would have it to do this, I'd be able to see what I'm doing better. But I'm trying to give you guys the better view without sticking my head in the frame. I'm also trying to not stick my arm in the way. It's okay if they don't go all the way to the middle. It's okay if they aren't perfectly straight. There. The super glue will help hold them right away. The 3-in-1 will hold long term. Now we're going to go in the middle between. Oops, I forgot to do this. So I'm going to finish this row, and then I will come back and we'll do the final row. In, and hopefully you can see, hopefully I won't get in the way. Put a little bit more super glue so it's a little easier to drip into. You can't see what I'm doing there, but I'm going to get a hold of the next leaf. And I'm pretty sure getting a hold of the leaves with the tweezers is actually the hardest part here. Now these are going to kind of be pretty much on top of the first layer. We just want these to cover. We don't want to see that piece of cardstock that we did first. We want some shape. Some of them stick up really cool. That makes it neat. And the last one. All right, So that's our base. Now I'm going to turn the camera off and get ready to do the flowers. Alright, I'm going to show you how to make one of the yellow dandelions and one of the dandelions that's gone to seed, and I'm going to do the rest off camera. We're going to make a total of 3 that have gone to seed. These are super easy. You take your wire, and I've got some super glue down here. I'm using, I think I said earlier, the Gorilla Super Glue Gel. Really liking it. It's working out really well. So, a little bit of glue on the tip, and then we're going to wrap some cotton around it, and we're going to let this dry. It works best if it gets to dry for a few minutes, and because it's super glue, it won't take long. Please excuse my voice for the rest of this video. I have a horrible cold with a sore throat today. I'm taking for each flower, we punched a hole. Remember, we punched 6 of these total. I've got 3 of them here. There's 3 for each of the 2 yellow flowers. Poke a hole through the middle of 1. And we need to do 1 layer at a time. Take your wire, put it down, and for this first one, I find dipping the end of the wire into the super glue works just fine. Bring this up so it's pretty much off, so it's like that, and let that dry. When that's dry, I'll be back and we'll go to the next step. Alright, now that the glue has set up a bit, we're going to make little cuts. Hopefully I can stay under the camera because this is like the 3rd time I have filmed this, making these flowers. And I can't seem to stay under camera. Alright, so we've got little cuts in those. Now we're going to put a hole there. Put that through. Whoops, come on. And let's see, this is my little bit of super glue. And don't worry about the wire sticking up there. That we're going to cover with paint at the end. And then that bit of glue needs to dry. So we'll let that set up and then I'll be back. Now, we're going to do the same thing again. Just going around, making little clips. You need to do each layer though separately before you glue the next one on because it's just so much easier. It's too hard to get in there once you get the next one glued below it. Alright, then I bet you know what we're going to do next. We're going to do this and that. Push this up. I've got to go answer the phone. I'll be back. Alright, so we're back again. Now let's see if any of my super glue is still wet. Yeah. So we're going to put a drop of super glue right up here and push this up. We're also now going to open up our yellow paint. And you can just use a toothpick, you can use a paintbrush, whatever. And just dab some paint over the end of that green wire. We're going to let this dry, and then I'll be back. Glue and the paint should be dry, and you probably know what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to go in there and just cut around, make little slits, and kind of. If you can get your layers a little closer together than I did on that one, they'll look better. Now for these guys that have gone to seed, you're going to give it a severe haircut. Then Take something sharp like a pin and just kind of tease out some ends. And that's all there is to it. Now they're ready to trim and plant. Let's do that next. Alright, now we're going to assemble these. So I'm going to put just a drop of glue right down in there. I don't need much, it's a small area. I'm going to start with these guys. And we're going to cut this wire off so that it's about between 1/4 and 1/2 inch long. We don't want to go any longer than that. Now, trying to make sure I'm on camera, I'm going to dip this into some super glue and then stick it into that glue. We're going to repeat the same thing with this one. Yeah, I know I'm getting off camera here a little bit to try and get a hold of it. I want to get it onto there. Alright, let's try that with the second flower and see if we can, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. The yellow paint is not quite dry here. And do hold on to the flowers, they will fly. Into the super glue and down into the glue. Now, these guys, you want to make sure that you don't have your stems all cut the same length, because in nature they wouldn't all be the same height. And put them in at different angles. And one last one. I'm going to make this one a little taller. Not that tall. Tweezers. Come back here. These things do like to fly away, so be very careful. And I seem to have better fingers today. Okay, come on. And get that one up. There. Now we need to let the glue dry, and when the glue is dry, I'll be back and we'll take a better look at this. Alright, so here is our little dandelion already. I will insert a picture, hopefully I'll remember, after this point to show you this in place next to our porch. I just love this little project. I'd almost forgotten about them. I made a bunch of them several years ago, and as far as I know, I've never shared it on the channel. I hope I haven't. But I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure and check out the blog post. Be sure and check out my Patreon page if you would like to help support the channel, like the folks whose names are coming up next. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.